All right, guys, cool. Well, we're going to get rolling. My name is Joe Maisley. I'm one of the co-owners of Wadwell. I'm joined by the other co-owners of Wadwell, Lisa and Jeremy Reither, as well as Michael Anthony, and then two of our other remote coaches, Mark and Marcia. And so what we're going to be doing here today, the goal of this whole thing is just talk about how we can maximize the space that we have wherever we are to build an effective home gym for you. And that can look like many different things depending on the space you have available to you and the resources you have available to you as well. But the bottom line is we can get in a lot of fitness with very minimal things. And what we're going to do is Lisa and I will kind of talk about our experience in building our home gyms. And then after that, we'll kind of go into a step-by-step process of how we built those gyms out and some essentials. I'll talk about how to train with very limited space and then go through the basic equipment that you need. And then at the end of this, we'll have some time for Q&A. And then Lisa will give out a really cool tool that we've developed. We broke things into 3 tiers. What are the essentials? What happens after that? And then what are the really nice to haves? And then after that, anything additional is pretty much just really nice toys that if you have the resources, cool, but they're not that integral to developing a overall general physical preparedness that our program are designed for. So I'm going to pass it off to Lisa. So Lisa, it's all you.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Welcome, everyone. I'm Lisa. And just like I'm sure most of you belong to a gym at one point, and then life, work, change of jobs, and or kids got in the way, and going back and forth didn't make very much sense. And so one day when I realized I couldn't make it to the gym and it was getting harder, I picked up a pair of kettlebells. That became the at-home fitness journey in the garage. And it was just as simple as that. I could never have foreseen having what I have now, and so grateful that I do, because I was still doing kind of both the gym and the garage, but slowly over time, adding one piece of equipment here, a jump rope, a pull-up bar, a set of dumbbells, and then, eventually a barbell was kind of the key steps. And that all happened gradually over time. And it can seem a bit overwhelming. People ask all the time, where do I start? And we're here to kind of help with that, because it doesn't need to be this big, crazy, daunting list. And there's certain pieces of equipment that are like nice to haves, and there's certain pieces of equipment that are very versatile, I should say. And Joe, you had something a little bit different, actually.
I did. And so my experience is a little bit different from Lisa's in that most of my journey has been coaching in a CrossFit affiliate. I've been fortunate to coach in a few extremely large affiliates that had literally every single toy you could imagine. I worked for Reebok headquarters for 6 years. We had 50 yards of turf, if that just and we had a full, like almost 50-yard monkey bar rig that Rogue built. So it was like fantasy camp for fitness. So I came from a spot where I always had equipment, but I did buy a few things at first to just have at my house to get in something quick if I couldn't get to the gym that day, if I wasn't working, or if I was on vacation. And so I started off with a medicine ball, a kettlebell, and a jump rope, and an ab mat. And you can tell now I am in my home gym in my garage that has a lot of cool stuff in it that I've acquired over time. And I'll talk about that once we kind of get to this tiered system there. So it's been, this did not come first. This is like, 15 years of growth. So I think that's important to note as well. You don't need all this stuff right away to get fit. So now that kind of dives into this next thing. Like, why is it important to follow a program? And that's why we have the Element and Athena programs, is so people have something to follow, right? And why is it good to follow something? Well, in our case, we're very fortunate. Lisa and I have been doing this for a really long time. And so what Lisa and I program is based off of the knowledge and experience that we've gained over the years of how to just, hey, what do I need to be really damn fit for my lifestyle, but I don't have to go into the gym in order to do that. And it allows us to have a little community to interact with, get some feedback from coaches, and also have some really, really good guidance out there from high-level coaches that are not even easily found out there in the fitness industry. So that's why it's important to, we believe, follow a program so we can stay accountable, have access to world-class coaching, and have guidance in that as well if you can't get to a gym. Now,
And
go ahead, Lisa.
oftentimes too, people ask like, well, I can do my own programming. I know enough. And we're not saying that you don't know enough. Absolutely. You've been in the CrossFit methodology or functional fitness for years and you have experience. However, what I find is people over prescribing the things they like and avoiding the things that they don't like, or over programming in general. More isn't necessarily better.
Yeah. And I echo Lisa's sentiments as well. And it's like, hey guys, we don't know what we don't know. Right. And sometimes it takes getting hit in the face by a punch to learn how to duck. Right. And unfortunately, I've made many mistakes training. I've overtrained a lot. I'll be very open about it. I've given myself rhabdomyolysis from doing too much when I shouldn't have been. I've learned a lot of these lessons the hard way. And so that's why we do what we do. And that's why following a program written by coaches that not only have experience, but also have the knowledge and education of how to apply those experiences correctly to gain a sustainable fitness that it's not just for trying to go compete in any fitness competitions. It's just, hey, how do we live our lives better to be better parents? If you're, first responder, be a better first responder, whatever that is, just live your life better. So I think now that we have that, let's talk about how do I build a gym to apply that fitness that it is we're trying to achieve. So Lisa's going to start this off and talk about something that's can be overlooked, and it's a simple thing, but it's actually really important. And that's like starting from the ground up with flooring.
Yeah, super sexy flooring. The kind of like there's two things, and we have a couple suggestions with flooring. But the reason for flooring, so let me back up, is it's sound dampening. It kind of, once you step onto that floor, it feels like you're in the gym, and it's just a separate space away from that's designated. And for me, that was important. I knew that when I was down in the garage or I was stepped on that mat, even to the kids, I would say like, this is my time. And it didn't feel so blended with my family life. Making a designated space with flooring to not only protect the ground and make it your own space. For this specific type of flooring, I suggest, or we both suggest, is actually horse stall mats. We'll give the links and everything in the document. It is by far the most affordable. You can get it pretty much anywhere, and it comes in at multiple different sizes and thicknesses, and it's just like the most impactful. I have also seen and used in different spaces these big roll-up thick mats, because some people need to also park their car in the garage. And so some of my athletes will move their car out, and this is like this massive mat that kind of just like, okay, now I'm ready to go.
Cool. So what we'll talk about next is limited space. And in my experience with this, again, my first real home gym that I had, I lived in a very, very small space. We had this one little room off of our kitchen, and that became like a play area for our kids / a home gym for my wife and I. So talking about flooring, what was the first thing that we did? These roll-up mats that Lisa was talking about are this one's from Rogue, Dahlinger mats, right? And they just roll up like this, super easy. So you could have it on the floor and you can roll it up so you could get it out of the way, so you can have more room to, use the space for something else. So I started off with, and I'll talk about this here, just a few things. And so the limited space that I had, I made sure I had enough ceiling height so that I could do things overhead, and also enough space side to side so I wasn't gonna knock into walls unintentionally or anything like that. You actually don't really need this massive amount of space to do most of the movements, right? If you're doing double unders and you have a light over your head, I can't do double unders here. My garage, you guys can see, it's not that high, touching the ceiling right here. So I got to go outside if I'm doing something like that. But those things are few and far between. Majority of things you could do inside. So with that said, we'll talk about kind of like what equipment do I need to get set up. And after that, need some dumbbells. Something that's a moderate weight, something that's a light weight. So 2 sets of dumbbells, medicine ball, PVC pipe, a jump rope, a box, and then an ab mat. And even an ab mat, it's not essential, but it is a helpful tool because it helps isolate the abdominals and it takes out the use of having your hip flexor help you sit up. So it just helps isolate the work that we do on the abdominals. And then we need some type of a pull-up system. Now, we are not aligned with this company in any fashion. It's called Duonamic. But if you're looking to start a home gym and you have limited space and equipment, I cannot recommend these more. And you can take them with you when you travel too, which is pretty cool. I've done it a bunch of times. They fit right in your, carry-on luggage. So really cool piece of equipment. It's in the notes and they're under about $100 US. And it's important to note too, I know that we have an international audience, but most of what we're putting out here, the majority of our membership is US based. So a lot of our recommendations are going to be via what's available in the US because that's what we have the most experience with. But we can also try to link a few things for you internationally as well. But these, they hook right onto most door frames and you have a great little pull-up option. Can't kip on them. Most of your stuff is going to be strict, but you can still get a lot of fitness in with just a little bit of equipment. And all of this stuff here is, probably, I didn't do the math out, but it's probably under about around $500 US. So you can get started and that's a soft box. So the wooden boxes are even cheaper than that. And, if you go on Facebook Marketplace or something like that, you can get started with all this stuff for pretty reasonable price point from what resources you have available. And it's a really good starting point. Lisa, do you have anything to add to that?
The only thing that when you were talking came to mind, and was a real thing when we moved out of San Francisco 2 years ago, we couldn't go overhead in our new little space. And you're right, we had like a teeny tiny area. And luckily for me, I was short enough that I could buy change plates. So even though they weren't the big bumper plates, I could get the 10s and the 5s. And, I had enough to be able to at least make it work. I know not everyone's going to have that option, but if you're vertically challenged, that is also an option.
That's important to note. It's like, hey, do the best you can with what you got. And again, it comes down to the point, why is it important to follow a program? Well, it's important to follow a program that understands the importance of scaling, right? So modifying workouts in order to still get a really good dose of fitness in, but be able to work around whatever things are. It's like we write workouts and there's this prescribed version, right? But it's a guideline, right? And that's why you can still get really fit with medicine ball, a couple pairs of dumbbells, a box, a jump rope, and an ab mat, and in a PVC pipe, some type of a pull-up system. That's the level 1 equipment. So after that, for level 2, we do recommend having a rowing machine. So I do have a couple behind me, but there's a couple of different options there. And the rowing machine's great because you can break this down into 2 pieces, super easy to store. And there's a lot of fitness that you get out of this because it's a full body movement. After that, definitely get some gymnastics rings, things like ring dips, ring muscle ups, ring push-ups, ring rows, a lot of utility in those as well. And then we put them in there too, because in this second tier, we recommend getting some type of a squat rack / pull-up system. Actually, I'll just walk it over so you guys can kind of see what the space looks like here. You can see it doesn't take up much space from the wall. If you did have to store your car in your garage, this can fold up right against the wall. And so easy space saver option there. And then 2, you're going to be able to do a lot more when you do get a barbell in place. They're going to allow you to get in those heavy sessions that we program, which is going to help build toe strength. After that, we recommend some parallettes. Parallettes are great. LSIT holds. We program them all the time. You can also do push-ups off of them. These are them right here. These are Rogue ones. We have something linked to ones that you can make at home out of PVC pipe. It's super easy to do, little weekend project, and pretty cost effective as well. And it's a really, really great tool for developing overall fitness. Some type of like a rucksack or a backpack, plate carrier to throw some extra weight in. I mean, most people have access to a backpack, it can be pretty simple. As long as you can hold, 20 something pounds in there, that's really all you need. So you can go out, you can do a hike, you could do a run with something like that. There are a decent amount of workouts programmed where a vest or a ruck is prescribed in it. And then level 3 is when we kind of get into the next tier stuff, getting a climbing rope of some type, a bench. Then you can maybe think about investing in something like a Concept 2 bike erg, ski erg, an assault bike, some other type of cardio piece of equipment if you have the means. And then after that, we definitely recommend, if you have the space and the means, getting a GHD. GHDs help you do so many different movements and really help develop midline stabilization absent having to do any other movements. So awesome piece of equipment to have. But again, it's in the third tier. Why? They take up a lot of space. They are more expensive for, one piece of equipment, and they're heavier. But there is an option there that if you do have a pull-up rig, you can actually set up a GHD via Rogue using just a flat box, and there is an option in there for that. And after that, we recommend getting some kettlebells. And why do we put kettlebells in the last tier? Well, dumbbells would be used in more things a little bit easier than kettlebells can. So that's why those are in that third tier. And anything outside of that is icing on the cake. If you have the means, cool. Great, get it, but you don't need it. Lisa, what do you got?
Yeah, I was going to say, Jeremy's sharing this tool that we created, and I can go ahead and share my screen. There it is. Can you guys all see that? Yes. And this is going to be a working document that we're going to continue to update over time. So you guys can go ahead and make your own copy. And once you do so, you can check off what you have. And so you can kind of see like what I wanted to add on. It's also at the very bottom of it. I know we have an international audience as well. And so we just gave some options for our international folks. There's one other thing that I did want to add that's not a part of this. There's two things outside of equipment, and they're very small, is a whiteboard. Not all workouts are, sometimes there's a lot of components to it. And so just having it visibly, you can get a whiteboard like anywhere, Target, Amazon. And a clock on either it's on your phone or an iPad or some kind of device, because not everything is like 3, 2, 1, go for time. So there's many different forms, Tabata, EMOMs, and it will suggest, I guess I can add that on there, a few apps. But those are two questions that I also get often, is like, is there anything that's not on this list that would help me, with my setting up my gym?
We need something to keep track of your workouts as well. We obviously have, via our own programming platform, a way to log your workouts.
I guess we'll open it up now. Anyone have any questions, or is there anything that we can help answer for you? And you may not.
Okay, hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Hey, Manny, what's up?
Hey, nothing much. First and foremost, I appreciate you guys doing this. I think it's definitely awesome, and I am learning a lot. So I currently have a garage, an attached garage, and I have a lot of exercise equipment in there, in addition to other things that have accumulated over the years, in which it's pretty cluttered. So, I mean, I have things, I actually have 2 boxes I have no kettlebells, but I do have dumbbells. But anyways, I guess the point I'm getting at is as far as flooring. So the flooring in my garage is pretty beat up. Okay, where you have some like grooves showing from the actual concrete coming out. There's dust accumulation. So I'm curious. I know you guys mentioned about the mats. So would you just be laying mats over that, or would you recommend actually getting that redone so that the mats can go on there?
I think it depends, Manny, on what you have available for resources. It's like, hey, I know like the flooring in my garage is that like, oh man, I forget what we coated it in, but if you can see it, it's kind of like that marbled, smooth garage flooring and you can see it on the wall behind me as well.
Yeah.
Like that was something when we were building out this addition on my house that we wanted to invest in to protect the floor, but it's
Right.
not cheap, so
Right.
and so I think it depends on what you have for your resources at that moment and what you want to do with that space. If getting the floor redone isn't in the cards, yeah, just slap mats on it because that's going to help, protect the floor from being beat up even further.
Manny, I'll add to that because I was in a situation when we were in San Francisco, we were renting. And so the floor did get cracked. And that's what started the whole flooring process was like, we kind of leveled it out and it really just not only helped level out that surface to keep it safe on our bodies, but also protected the area. And then we realized how important it was when we bought our home to get the flooring. And so then we really like doubled that. I would say depending on how bad it is, trying to smooth it out. Like if you can, because that would definitely help overall. And then once the flooring's on those mats, they're pretty thick and they're like 150 pounds each, depending on the size you get, will keep things in place. So, or at least that's what I've found. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I was going to say that's actually what I've been considering, just kind of do it myself kind of thing. So as far as those mats are concerned, what is the price range on those?
We have some links on there, and for Tractor Supply Company, you can, depending on how many you can get, I think it's around like $40 a mat. For most of them. It just depends on how much space you're looking to lay with it. If you're gonna do your whole garage, you're probably looking at around $1,000. But if you just, you could get 2 or 3 mats and have enough space to drop bars on, you know what I
Right.
mean, and not need anything else. So I think it all depends. You can do a lot with a little. And I think that's the whole point of this, right? Like, I've been fortunate enough over time to accumulate a lot of this stuff. And when I was building this addition in the garage of my house, which is very new, I knew exactly how I wanted everything laid out and had the means and resources to do what I wanted to do with my own gym. But I got really fit at my house in a tiny 10 by 10 room with
Right.
just a couple rollout mats, a rowing machine, and some dumbbells. So,
Yeah.
just
So
keep that in mind.
Yep, I am, and I'm just going to add on to that, Joe. I know COVID wasn't a good time, but I was in the fittest shape of my life, working out at home. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, just hitting it. So I hear that. I hear that. All
I
right.
want
Well,
to applaud you because majority of the people would say the opposite.
yeah.
So congratulations. That's amazing.
Well, thanks for the questions, man. I think we're close to the end here. So, Lisa, if you have anything you want to end with, we can wrap this up and call it a day.
Yeah, we'll hand over the tool in the link down below. That's it.
To those of you watching this after we are recording this, thanks for your time and checking this out, and hope you find what Lisa and I talked about helpful.
All right, bye guys.